Cybernation Uncensored.
Okay. Welcome back, everyone, to Cybernation Uncensored and our Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle. Here we have our lovely coterie, who have just survived their first few nights as newly made vampires. Before we get started, since I forgot to do this last time, why don't we go around the table and meet our vampires, introduce yourselves, and who you're playing tonight. Let's start around the stream with Vampire Bites.
Hello, I am Vampire Bites, longtime regular of the Cybernation Uncensored, been on a few streams here and there, and I will be playing Vivian Devereaux, or Viv as we call her, a Ventrue up-and-coming would-be Camarilla.
Thomas?
Hi, my name is Thomas. I'm playing Morgan Mullivan, who is a gangrel who enjoys feeding on people who've just finished having a good time.
Ada?
Hi, I am Ada Kills, also playing Nora Crane, who is a very creepy Malkavian girl who likes to feed on the sleeping primarily.
Okay. Creepy. And Riley?
Hi everybody, I'm Riley Manis. Second time appearance here, last seen on The Last of Us with VB and a few others. Now here to bring you Drake Veloci, the photo-catching lost Toreador, who's still working up to this whole vampire thing, regardless of our few nights going successfully on the vampire side.
Alright. So, the last we left this coterie, you were tasked with the Prince of Chicago to find and kill those who turned you illegally. You were mostly successful with that task. You were able to confirm Ada's mysterious sire, which there were some doubts. But the Vetremir indeed confirmed that the blood of that which you killed is the blood that turned Ada. After which you learned of a conspiracy run by a kindred known only as Malachi. However, the prince saw it fit to set you aside for this one and let the sheriff handle it, given that you are young, fresh, new, and inexperienced. That being said, it's been about 3 nights. The first night you got taken away from wherever you were. You were bitten, blood was fed through you forcefully, and you were turned. And the latter 2 nights, you were forced into this world without any warning, barely any training, or as much training as Vivian could fit in a couple of hours of talking to you. And then you were forced to do your first job, to earn your place in this society, in this world of darkness. Now, the third night as a vampire. First things first, some housekeeping. If you have any willpower damage, you may heal a number of them equal to your composure or resolve, whichever is higher. Just click on the flashes until they go away. As for health, that is manually healed, and we will get to it. So actually, would anyone like to heal any damage at the moment? Knowing you also have to wake up this evening.
I have healed my willpower, but I don't have any actual
Health. Okay.
damage, I don't think.
Yeah, Vivian doesn't like rocking around injured. Vivian will roll the double rouse check.
Go ahead.
One for health and
Oh, it's
one
just-
for waking up.
Go ahead. Everyone else can make a rouse check because you will awaken this evening. And every time you awaken, you must force the blood to make your body something useful other than a corpse. Oof. Morgan's not looking too good. Okay,
There we go.
so let's have some fun with this. When the third night kicks in, for the rest of you, especially for Vivian, whose body begins to repair itself back to its original state, and the rest of you awaken feeling about as normal as you have been for the last 2 days. Morgan, you awaken to the sound of a growl next to your head, and your eyes burst open. Again, the sensation of this always feels as though you had just slept. Oh, sorry, you had just closed your eyes and then opened them, as if you never slept at all. You can't quite hear or place where the growling sound is until you realize that no matter what direction you turn, it's always just right next to you. It's in your head. It's hunger. And it is strong. Here within your haven, where you stay, you can hear blood pumping through people's veins. You can hear heartbeats. Anytime you look outside the window, if you leave your room at any point, if you go anywhere, you don't see people walking on the streets. You see streaks of red. You can see the blood going through their veins. Everyone here is essentially a walking Happy Meal to you right now. The hunger is strong. The compulsion to feed is strong. Before you decide on what you want to do, because this is the most pressing thing, the moment you awaken, it's almost as if your body just wants to go outside and look at all of this food in front of you. The world is an all-you-can-eat buffet right now. Before you decide, just note, taking anything more than 2 points worth of hunger from a single mortal will leave them needing medical attention, or else they will die, with or without you continuously draining them. That being said, before this night begins, would you actually like to do anything about your hunger?
So Morgan knows that even if he was to try to do something, she'd struggle to keep it down. So
You would?
I think his plan would be to try and get to the veterinary surgery that he was on campus, that he was training at, and to try and get some type of blood. Does it work the same mechanically, whether it's an animal or a human, or does it need to be human blood?
All right. So you do work at a clinic, yes? You do,
Yeah.
or at least you know some clinics. So at the vet, this is gonna be a little dark for anyone, but there are some animals in here.
Right.
Some of them are on their last legs. Some of them are sort of like the vet clinics who are trying to let them pass peacefully. However, there's also the option of using the equipment in here to extract blood from them if you would prefer not to feed on them alive. Arguably, some of these animals might benefit from the feeding because human or animal, the kiss works the same. They feel good about it. So you could feed on one and not kill it, feed on multiple animals. This is a choice of what kind of monster you want to be at the moment.
Yeah. I don't think I want to kill any living animals.
Okay.
That's probably a bit too monstrous, even for me. So I think what I would probably do is try and find some of the healthier looking animals, perhaps
Some that can
who,
take it.
yeah, and maybe there are some who have who are on some type of medication as well, which would probably come into my thinking, and then
All
try
right.
and extract some blood from them.
Okay. We'll modify your feeding roll because of the nature of what you're doing. So it will be you'll click on medicine and then wits.
Okay.
And then surgery specialty won't apply here because you're not performing surgery. So just click medicine wits, confirm it, then just roll it. 6. That's perfect. So there are a few animals here that aren't dying, that aren't on the equivalent of a hospice. There are some here who are just here for maybe they just had surgery. Some of them they had to, minor surgery to fix up any disease they might have carried. So you can see a few of them that have markers for they're on painkillers or they're on some form of anesthetic that you can feed on. And with 6 successes, you should be able to clear out your blood problem fairly easily. When you drink from them, the problem here is when you drink from human blood, or any kind of blood, even kindred, it took some effort to keep it down, which is a contradiction because it always tasted better. You see, drinking from animal blood, it tastes like stale, warm beer left on a hot summer day. It tastes awful. Drinking, and that should be the kind of blood that you can regurgitate almost immediately. And yet for you, drinking that is what you can keep down. Human blood, on the other hand, tastes like premium stuff. Tastes like the thing you were meant to feed on, and for some reason, it's the thing you can't keep down. So it's a wonder, what's wrong with you? It's not a clan thing, you were told. It's a you thing. Still, the animals that you fed on were high on a bit of painkiller. So you get that nice little high, not as good as when a human has it, but good enough. And you did the animals a bit of a favor. Given they were in a little bit of pain, now they're more relaxed and actually able to sleep, thanks to you. And because of how many successes you received, you are able to save it. None of them are on death's door. They're just enough to keep them down. Maybe they'll have to stay here for an extra day or two to recover, but otherwise, you haven't done any major damage. So, with your feeding done, and the night belongs to the rest of you, here's the first thing that we haven't covered yet because it's been so hectic the last few nights. With the exception of Vivian, the three of you will begin to realize that the moment you see a mirror or any form of reflection of yourself, you haven't changed. That very moment that you now have some clarity in your head of what happened that night, of what happened to you that night, your appearance hasn't changed. The makeup you had on, still on you. The hairstyle you kept, still that hairstyle. Any scars you had, whether they've scabbed, turned into actual scars, or they're still fresh wounds, they're still on you. If you had a shaving accident and there's a bit of a bump, it's still there. Anything, any slight perfection or imperfection in how you looked from the moment you were turned exists. And you realize that you can change your clothes, but your hair, your skin, everything about you keeps going back to that day. And if you took a shower the previous night, you are still the same the next morning or the next evening. Your body does not change. It's unnatural. You can wake up with whatever hair you had. If your hair was perfect the previous life, it stays perfect now. Completely unnatural. But this is your life now. Secondly, in no particular order, we will start with Drake. The emails are piling up. You've filed your leave for a couple of weeks. You've had student assistants take care of it. But still doesn't answer the question of where you've been prior to that leave, what you're doing, or where you're going. You haven't really answered anyone's questions, and now those questions are catching up to your life. What are you going to do? Because you can keep it up for a couple of weeks while people are not asking too many things, but eventually they're going to wonder.
I mean, as I said in my leave, there was a medical development. I can't exactly change that fact. There's been a drastic adjustment to my health and my way of living, and it's not suitable for me to be a teacher in the way I was. I'm more than happy to and eagerly suggest that I can author an online course, put together works for basics, fundamentals, philosophies, histories of the art, of any topic that they want me working on, which if things are cooling down, I'll think I could probably handle, but if the Camarilla has plans for us again, then I might not. But I'm going to try anyway, because I need money. Otherwise, the things I want to do in a little bit aren't going to be able to happen.
Fair. So you tried to give that reason, and you have explained that reason. You've given them everything they can. So here's the problem. You're partially famous in this community. And there's always one or two desperate would-be journalists and paparazzi who are looking for the next big thing to put on the next tabloid magazine. So, upon awakening the evening, if you check the news, if you check any social media at all, do you? If you check any updates of your once life.
Check my old accounts, check my emails.
There are tabloid articles that are tagging you, claiming that Drake Veloci's health is declining, or up-and-coming photographer from Chicago might have his career cut short. And there's speculations on diseases and things you might be facing, problems you might be having, going rampant and wild all over the internet for the views and the clicks. All of these clickbait titles going through. It's unsettling, but it's also attracting some unwanted attention. Given that most of your students are part of this clickbait community that don't really read articles and are sending their well regards, asking if you're okay, trying to see what's happening to you. But unwanted attention, regardless of what form it takes, plagues your social media at the moment. Something you're gonna have to deal with at some point, but not now. For now, you're okay. So, Nora, you awaken, and prior to what you've done, or prior to what's been done to you, you've already set your life on flames. You've already given up everything. You've already abandoned everything. Everyone that you know, your career, everything in your life, you've already thrown away. So there's not really much to happen to you at the moment. This is what you wanted, and you received it. Good for you. Now, you would be in your apartment when you awaken. Obviously. You would be in the haven that was given to you. protected from everything. But what do you want to do this evening? Because there's not a lot of people chasing you right now. And for the first time in the last couple of nights since you've been turned, you're well and truly free. Mostly. As free as you can be in the Camarilla.
I don't know. Maybe I'll take a walk. Maybe visit a nightclub since that's what's open.
Great. Move around, see the scenery, look what's happening. The night's so different now. Everything's different. You're hearing things you wouldn't be able to hear before, seeing things you've never seen before. You can see people, but surrounding them, see this aura around them, their blood. You can see how they're feeling, as odd as that sensation is. You can smell the guy across the street from you. Probably just got engaged given how happy he is with that girl. Meanwhile, the woman hailing a cab right from the street seems awfully depressed. There's a lot of people moving about, annoyed, confused. There's a lot of emotions just flooding the streets, and you can feel all of it. You can smell all of it. As you move, maybe you're hoping he'd make an appearance tonight, and so far he has not. But nightclubs are free to visit, to go around, to enjoy. It's at this moment that the hunger, while not overbearing and not too troublesome, is there. It's a little tick in the back of your head that you're always hungry, you're always slightly hungry, and that everyone around you that you try to talk to, dance with, mingle with, they're all just meals on legs to you. Of course, it's a lot more romantic in your head than that. You get to feed on them. It's a beautiful thing. It's an enjoyable thing. They enjoy it, you enjoy it, everybody wins. Almost romantic, isn't it?
Yeah.
You enjoy your night. Morgan's just fed on some animals, and Vivian, when you awaken, it's a wonder how you survived that assignment that was thrown on you. 3 fledglings finding their sires, staking and murdering them all when none of the 4 of you are even capable of fighting. It's true wonder how you survived, but you did. No, of course you did. You're you. You'll always survive. There's no way you could fail. Upon awakening and healing yourself, it's right about time, given your current accomplishments, you've earned the right to turn. You've earned the right to a servant. And your loyal driver, who has done everything you've ever asked without question, regardless of how questionable those actions are, remains ever ready in his driver's room at the basement of the condo. He is competent, he is loyal, and he is capable. And you know you've earned the right to do so. So how would you like to approach the matter of changing him?
Well, logistics-wise, just to Ghoul not to actually embrace, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, of course.
So we haven't given him a name. Lucas works for me.
Sure.
Lucas, could you come
Ma'am.
up to my apartment, please? I have some
Yes, ma'am.
business matters to discuss with you.
Do you need me to bring anything up there?
Just yourself for now.
Yes, ma'am. When he hangs up, it takes all of 5 or so minutes. Just him waiting by the elevator till he gets up there. Sharply dressed, ready as always. Called for me, ma'am.
Yes, you have been a most faithful employee since I've arrived, and I would hate to lose you. I can assume that you've seen things that don't quite make sense and you've never questioned them.
I was told not to.
Well, and she will just slice in her palm and offer it to his mouth, then drink.
There is hesitation, but there's also loyalty. So, as far as he's concerned, this is some sort of odd blood oath. But you've always paid for when he gets injured. So he just looks like maybe you'll pay if I get hepatitis or something. But he takes your palm. Now you don't actually bleed, which is where the rouse check comes in. You have to force your blood and the vitate carries through your hand, through the wound, and into his mouth. And at first he drinks hesitantly, looking at you with a confused look on his face. But as it flows through his mouth, it begins to flow like honey, and the hesitation disappears into something twisted almost. He's drinking it. He's taking it in. And then you stop him when you have to.
Such a good boy. Welcome to the family, Lucas.
Blood bond on mortals works a lot faster than it does on kindred. So he looks at you and bows. Thank you, ma'am.
You'll need another tasting at least once a month.
Yes.
More often if you're really nice.
He agrees almost instantly when you offer the prospect of doing it again. Do you require anything tonight, ma'am?
I think I'm going to take my new friends shopping. We seemed to be a little lucky in our last endeavor, and I believe that we would benefit from having more equipment on hand just in case. So
I'll collect them for you.
I'll make some phone calls to make sure that they're ready, to check what their plans are. But yes. Thank you.
Nods. It'll wait. Now, technology in the camera is tricky, so you have to use burner phones, rotary phones, anything that can't be tapped or detected. But you are more than rich enough to handle any of this information. So eventually, a message will be delivered to the three of you wherever you've ended up, stating that Vivian would like to meet. And given that everything you've been doing for the night, this would probably be right around 9. The evenings start early, given it's winter. So you'd all receive the message one way or the other, whether it's through a courier, a messenger, through a random burner phone, or a drug dealer who just bumps into you on the street and leaves a phone in your pocket that suddenly vibrates. Odd ways of messaging get to you that Vivian would like you to meet, and that you would be picked up. So one by one, her beautiful car comes over to pick you up. I would imagine Vivian drives in in a regular limo, just so all of you 4 of you can fit in the back. So it picks you up, It's nondescript enough. Just a black limo walking around driving around through Chicago. Nothing too big or fancy. But eventually, through one way or the other, the four of you once again find yourselves together. Where are you going, Vivian? Given that you gathered them this time?
So I do have one dot in Streetwise, so I would
Yes.
be putting some calls out to locate a untraceable gun dealer, so we can all have a side piece for emergencies. And I don't know exactly how to go about getting everybody a stake or two to keep as a backup weapon, but that's the intent. Plus, if they need anything else, Auntie Viv will assist.
So this way. Why don't you roll your wits and streetwise, but add your resources as 4 bonus dice. So you'll be getting streetwise, then wits, and after you confirm, you can add the custom modifier of 4. Since money speaks. Let's see where this night takes you. Would the three of you like to do anything while you're in the car and Vivian's driving you to some unknown location in the shadier part of the south side? Because you are being driven to a very dark, shady part of the south side that hasn't been gentrified yet. The street lamps still aren't working. There's probably blood on the old bus stops that are just dried and not been cleaned. There are abandoned apartment buildings that have been condemned that are probably now drug dens, and you can see some smoke coming out the window that doesn't look like cigarette smoke. So, do the three of you have any comments as to where Vivian is taking you in what can be considered a luxury sedan limo in what can also be considered a very dark part of the town?
This isn't exactly the kind of place I would have considered when you said we were going shopping.
It's better not to have traceable equipment for the kinds of jobs that we may end up doing and for self-protection. So, getting it here is probably our safest. If you'd rather go to Harrods, we can fly to London some other time. But in general, whatever shopping we need to do, we can do.
This is a perfect place to go shopping, Nora. Viv, if you take the second left up here, I think you'll find that the prices might be a bit more amenable.
Again.
Highly depends on what you're buying, but to be fair, Vivian is pulling up somewhere close to there. As you pull up, and you've had your contacts ready, messages delivered quietly through dead drops and agreed meets, you arrive here roughly around 11 o'clock. Still early considering winter nights. And a guy just walks out. He has a large black van, and the back of the van has clearly been modified because when he opens it, there are no seats there. He opens it from the back, the tailgate goes up, and there's just boxes and hooks and a small armory inside that van of weapons. Which he looks at Vivian, does not say anything. There are no words exchanged, given precautions in case there are any wires involved. But there's a pre-agreed upon thing and a pre-agreed upon price. And he hands it in a metallic briefcase, lead, avoiding scanners. Opens it for you, only inside the van, in the cover of blackout curtains. The several weapons that you would have ordered for them, concealable firearms. I'm assuming that Vivian wouldn't have ordered anything too obvious when you carry on the streets, like an AR, So, just concealable weapons, things with high calibers, but not so large that you can't put it under a nice jacket. And the bullets for all of them, for the money that you've offered. He hands it to you. You hand cold hard cash. Nods, closes the van. Again, a wordless transaction, but when Vivian enters and presents you a gift of 50 calibers. Some really powerful handguns right in front of you. Things that shouldn't be legal to own. But you don't really care about that one way or the other, whether it is or not. Not anymore. Oh, and of course, incendiary rounds.
We did get. I don't know if Rob discussed this with you or not, Nigel, but we do have channel point redeems, and Meter Monkey has redeemed a +2 to the next roll, and Noland West has dropped two -2s to the next rolls.
Oh, it's a balanced out. Yep, I see that.
Yeah.
So,
But the
whatever the
weird-
next roll is, oh, there's 2 +2s. Oh
Yeah,
no,
okay.
there's 2 -2s.
Yeah. The thing is,
Yeah.
the systems that this were built for, a -2 or a +2 can make a difference, whereas
Yeah.
in this system it will make a difference. So I don't know exactly how you
So,
want to leverage that.
We
but-
will cover this as dice reduction, which means you guys are killing these players right now. But whoever makes the next roll, because there's a +2 and 2 -2s, the net is a -2 to the dice roll of whatever the next roll is gonna happen is. So try not to be too harsh on these players, you guys, because -2 to dice here, where the average is like 5 or 6, is very, very painful. Unlike in something like
God.
Cyberpunk Red. So, good luck to whoever has to make the next roll. But for now, there is a small armory in front of you, and you guys can discuss how you feel about these high-powered, high-caliber weapons in front of you. But you are on the way to a more different looking part of town. Because the part of town you're looking into right now seems to be a novelty place. There's a few Halloween stores, a few costume places here. You're not sure where you're going this time, but for now, there are 50 caliber handguns in front of you with incendiary rounds, or for any of you familiar with firearms, those are incendiary rounds.
Vivian, I don't mean to say no or be negative against such a wonderful gift, but this is not very discreet, I would say. These are, I would imagine, the largest handguns. I mean, you wouldn't think of 9mm, considering what everyone else uses in this town.
Sir, if we double that payment, can we have a random selection of more discreet things as well?
That's the most discreet and powerful thing you had, but
Well, looking
you asked
for
for those.
potentially more discreet, less powerful, everyday wear.
Uh,
Everyday wear.
Anything can be every day if you try hard enough. But I've got something. I think I know what you mean. He moves around and pulls out a few 38 snub-nosed. Very small, very easy to conceal. Not as powerful. No incendiary ammunition for this one, but 38 is still a 38. It's an add-on. You don't have to double the payment, but it is an add-on for extra payment for smaller items that you can carry on you for whatever protection that counts for. Here you go.
Very good work, sir. Better.
Whenever you need anything. And as for you, he looks at Ada. There's a few combat knives, but they are kind of large. They're military grade. And then there's a few switchblades, which are just street stuff. Given how much Vivian has spent here, he will just give you the switchblades.
Yes.
Easy
Thank
point, press, open, close, butterfly knives if you want them. Otherwise, very easy to use knives. He just hands them to you. Take them.
Oh, thank you. Add these to the
Just
collection.
nods. He says very little, says very few, keeps it safer that way. But he will leave with the weapons he's provided you. And all the bullets. Which he doesn't provide in small boxes, he provides in a small case. It's like a 2 foot by 1 foot box full of bullets that have been arranged according to the calibers he's provided you.
I would
And-
quite like just to hang on to the bigger version of those two things, if that's all right.
Well,
And I'll just sort of palm the 50 caliber into my waistband, being Scottish and not knowing anything about guns, doing it probably not very safely. But
You put it in your pants, right below the waist, and the safety's still off.
Oh my god.
excellent.
Do they? I'm digging through the box. Did they at least give us holsters?
Yeah,
Okay,
but
thank God.
like you guys mentioned, 50 calibers in holsters, you'd need a pretty large jacket to conceal that.
Yeah.
But you can technically hide it in an oversized coat. The stub nose is much better if you're looking to wear something more fitting for you.
Yeah, if we're doing the things we do as kindred, yes, by all means, take the big one. But the Chicago police take home about 7,000 guns a year, and 45% of them are handguns, up to 40. People
Yep.
don't just use 50 like that.
50 calibers, exactly. Highly illegal to carry.
I took a lot of training as a teacher to understand how to identify weapons, so please use the smaller one in your everyday wear, and you'll sound like everyone else using a gun in this city.
I'm not sure
As
if you
opposed
remember
to
when
Morgan.
Last thing before we leave this guy, I'm going to roll a rouse check, do a forgetful mind, to rewrite
Sure.
our to
Interactive.
rewrite the description of the people that he met with. Not the
Right.
details
He
of
doesn't
it.
recognize you.
Yeah, so that he doesn't recognize us if he sees us again, doesn't recognize any names that might have gotten mentioned.
So the interaction remains the same, but the faces
Yeah.
and how you are different. That's fine. Vivian can take like 5 minutes carefully rewriting his memory of what you look like, while Morgan puts the gun, probably how you've seen in media, in
Yeah,
American media,
100%.
just putting it in there, not realizing that safety is a thing, or that people
Yeah.
probably don't actually do that unless they're going to war, and then just
Yeah,
putting a shirt over it.
It's probably not even, unless it comes up, it's probably not even loaded, is how far his knowledge of guns go. He's
He
been in
would
the
not have handed
States
you a
for
loaded
like
gun.
18 months, so it's like Morgan probably thinks he's looking pretty tooled up right now, and everybody else around him maybe understands that he looks just a bit of a tool. While Viv is rewriting this guy's brain, is he like aware?
Confused? No. While Vivian has his eye contact and his attention, he's not cognizant of what's happening around as long as Vivian is still rewriting his mind. He is distracted and completely unaware of his surroundings.
Can I check his pockets?
So he has a small revolver holstered away on his side.
Mhm.
He has a wallet
Mhm.
with a good fair amount of fake IDs and driver's licenses, all with the
Oh.
same photo, all with different names.
Mhm.
Some cash on hand, about $600 in the wallet in $100 bills.
Mhm.
You do find a small bag of white powder inside his pocket, if
Well,
that
well,
matters.
I mean, it wasn't what I was looking for, but if it's a bag of white powder, I'll take a note as well from his. I'll take $100 bill,
It's
and
a
maybe
it's a
one of
good
the
thing
IDs.
that it's a good thing Vivian's taken an extended amount of time to rewrite his memory, because going through his ID, $100 bill, a bag of white powder, and well, there's nothing else on him. Doesn't carry actual identification, obviously. So that's all you find on his pockets. His
Sure.
truck, however,
Yeah,
you
we'll
could
do that.
arm small militia in that truck right now.
Yeah, we'll leave
But,
the truck. We're not going to
okay.
war.
So, again, Vivian, you finish rewriting, and he has no idea what's happened. So he just leaves without any idea what's gone on. Your friend, in quotations, Morgan, has secured himself a bag of white powder from the guy's pockets. He did have like multiple small satchels, bags, like 8 grams. You can take one, but you know, that's not something he'd probably notice, and not something he could associate with you, given what you've done to him. But now that you've settled on the weapons, the thing that I was describing earlier where you're going to is a hobby store. This hobby store is the classification that cities give it, or the town gives it, a hobby store. But inside is a very eccentric man with an enthusiasm for vampiric culture. It's a store that Nora is very familiar with. You bought quite a few books from here. You are now
Oh, so
realizing that it's all horribly inaccurate. But he subscribes to the Bram Stoker version of the mythology, plus a few Transylvanian mythologies. He has several classic signed posters of Nosferatu, the film, over there. He has memorabilia, but he also has vampire hunting kits from the 19th century, which means large leather suitcases, and inside of them are mallets, very well-made stakes with ornate handles, holy water blessed by supposedly the Pope, some crucifixes, and other paraphernalia that you just find here.
Make sure we
And
get
the
some
guy
garlic
looks...
too.
Oh yeah, there's some freshly made garlic necklaces just hung around the entire place. I don't suppose any of you actually have that pain, where garlic affects you. Okay. So there are garlic necklaces just hung around this place. Crucifixes that are hanging off of nylon strings hung from the rope. Stakes all over the wall. Shotguns that aren't actually shotguns, they're air guns designed to fire those stakes at a rapid speed. And actually machine-carved, precision-cut stakes. And he looks at Nora, and you guys probably didn't know this about her until now, where she says hi. And says, Nora! I haven't seen you here in a while. I was afraid the worst might have happened.
I wouldn't say it's the worst thing to happen, but something did happen.
Really? He looks at
Yeah.
you with a fanaticism. You have to tell me sometime. Who are your friends? I've never seen you come in here with friends before.
These are just friends of mine. New friends, I guess. Part of what happened.
He looks at all of you. Wait, before any of you speak, he shockingly, quote unquote, pulls out a giant, large string of garlic in front of all of you to see if you react. Just waves it around. Okay, you're fine.
Well, yes.
Puts it down.
Here's the thing. We believe you and Nora. And we'd like to go hunting.
Hunting. Well, yes, we certainly have the equipment for that. What do you need? We have regular stakes and mallets, the old Van Helsing method. We have this, a modified air gun, and he just points it at one of the dummies and shoots and misses the heart by a wide margin. Probably hits like the gut, just oof. But it does go through a wooden dummy, so highly effective. Bit dangerous though. Of course, we have freshly made garlic from my own farm, very strong. And holy water. These are taken from the local church. He just starts spreading them around. We have everything you might need to survive at night.
I would like one of those shotguns and, say, just in case my aim is bad, 10 stakes to fit it. And
Of
we
course.
should probably get a kit or two that has the holy water and the crosses and everything.
Of course. No problem. Anything for those who are defending humanity from the scourge of the night. Just hands this stuff. Puts the stuff in a bag. Gets the large leather-style briefcase with the vampire hunting kit and hands it to you. And then just charges you a bit. It's very simple. Doesn't cost you that much compared to how much you have. Will there be anything else? Perhaps some garlic necklaces.
Oh, I'll take one of those too, just for good measure. And she'll actually wear it.
A garlic necklace that he puts on you. It's like a leg or some form of necklace. It's got nylon string and that's been wrapped around the garlic, stabbed in the middle. Hangs it around you. No safer protection. Oh, and of course, for every one of those books, or for every one of those cases that you buy, the good book. He hands you a Bible.
Of course. Is there any particular passage you find effective?
He looks, to be perfectly honest with you, anything from Psalms seems to work. I tested it once on a suspected vampire and he just fled as quickly as possible. Fortunately, wasn't able to catch up. I'm still tracking him down. People believe he's human, and there are reports of seeing him in the morning, but those are likely falsified reports.
Yeah, very likely falsified, yes.
He just nods at you. Will there be anything else?
What would the rest of you like?
He's also selling these 19th century leather dusters. Just to complete the look if you want to buy them.
Sure.
Do you have any rosaries?
Of course. He has various kinds of rosaries, all of them blessed by a priest. He hands it to you, and you can tell that there's a part of it that's checking, especially on Nora, if it's burning you. And then just lets it go.
I'd really like a mallet and a briefcase, and if you're in too much trouble, a bottle of that water, please.
Comes with a briefcase and a book. He hands you a Bible yourself.
Thank you.
He looks extremely sure of himself. Like, all of his stuff works 100%. Well, Will that be all then?
Are you comfortable, Drake?
Oh, yes, absolutely. Wonderful equipment that we have here now. Just glad to be able to get such things for our journey. Whatnot. Drake walks out the
Of
door.
course. Happy hunting.
Thank you ever
Just
so
nod.
much.
Just nods and waves you off. It looks like the kind of guy Vivian doesn't even really have to rewrite. Given this kind of guy exists to preserve the masquerade.
Oh yeah, no, Viv's not worried about him at all.
But you leave with
As soon as she
that
gets in
whole
the
exchange
limo,
was...
that necklace comes off, and as they drive away, she'll drop it. How
in the garbage
gaudy.
bin.
Yeah.
Now, the garlic doesn't affect you, but when you try your sense of smell, especially to Ada, if you ever smelled like fresh garlic that's just been cut, it is amplified. Like it's just an amplified scent of garlic. It doesn't affect you negatively necessarily, but it is awful to smell.
But it's so gauche and gaudy. I only wore it for his benefit.
Was there a particular purpose for the trip to the novelty shop, or?
Yeah, these stakes and this gun, just in case we end up in a situation like we've been in before.
You just play such an enthralling vampire enthusiast. I almost thought you were Nora for a moment.
You gotta know your marks.
Honestly, that whole interaction was a lot more embarrassing than I remember it being.
Well, that's because you're clued in on the truth now, and you realize how ridiculous that was.
It was a little. Dracula's still a good book.
Oh, can't deny it. Written by one of the best.
And it's mostly accurate. So, on your way, there's a reminder that the four of you, while you do have separate areas you can stay in general, you were given a communal haven, Greenfield Community College. And it has been a while since you've checked in there. Vivian knows that with a haven comes a city block and a domain, and with a domain comes a certain responsibility for the entire coterie. The reason this is brought up is because the driver does open the limo divider, and he puts his phone in the back. Ma'am, you're going to want to see this. There has been a murder in the Greenfield Community College. A student was found dead inside one of the classrooms. There are no nights classes. Oh, sorry, there are night classes in the community college. So, but this student, according to the report or the preliminary report, is a morning student. And they were found in one of the empty classrooms, the ones that weren't being used for the evening classes. Should we head there, ma'am?
Yes, damage control at the least. Offer what services we can otherwise.
Very well. Puts back the divider and starts driving.
And Vivian will share the information with everybody. Is it someone any of you knew? Drake?
Let me see.
Lovely. Drake, intelligence and resolve, but you will have a -2 modifier.
Oh God.
Good luck.
All right. So I'll just roll
So-
intelligence. Since intelligence is 4, his resolve is 2. Just to.
Yes, just roll intelligence, then no attribute, then confirm. You survived that negative too. Good for you. It's not one of your students. They're not in their class, but it is a student you recognize. Because that student is a friend of one of your students. And you would often see them together, especially when your student would come to you asking for certain assignments to be done. She would often bring her along. So you would have seen them together. Her name is Patricia Whitmore. That's the student that has been murdered. The friend who is your student's name is Chelsea.
Oh, I know them. They weren't one of mine, but one of mine knew them. Share the name, share the relations with everyone.
I wonder if Chelsea knows anything. Morgan says as he pops open his briefcase and puts his handgun inside of it.
Still unloaded.
Let's if I remember Chelsea right, she is a very good person, so there's a chance they may show up if they saw the news already, which it's not too late for that. Most of my students were night owls anyway.
She's also a dorm student. So she stays in the dorm.
I'd say we check out the dorm if we really need to after we check out the scene.
Drake, I've got, albeit fairly animal-specific training. If we can get eyes on Patricia, I might be able to try and see if it's just a regular murder or if there's something more untoward that's gone on. But it's a bit riskier.
Yeah, but I think that's the best place to start, unless the ever-giving sugar mother of the group wants us to go elsewhere.
So, if it is just a mundane murder of kind, then we should remain uninvolved. If it's somebody hunting on our turf, either to get to us, or because they didn't know it belonged to us, or because they did and they want to meddle, then we deal with it. I think one of the first things that we do is, Morgan, as a vet, if we do believe it is kindred related, find some animal that we can blame it on. I don't know. But if the cops are already there, there's only so much we can do other than influence them, which I've been known to be able to do. So let's investigate first.
We did hear that there was a big dog on campus.
Okay. So, when you arrive on the campus, the police haven't shown up yet. There's just a number of people around. Obviously, they've kept it to minimum. So there's 3 or 4 faculty staff and a janitor who found it just there waiting for the police to arrive. They haven't shown up yet. But they're not far behind. The local precinct is not that far here. Maybe they're a little overworked this evening. But you can make a guess that they're going to arrive any minute now. But you are here first, thanks to your driver's skill.
Nora, be a dear and disappear and go scout ahead for us.
Will do.
Browse, please, Nora.
Alright.
To activate your unseen passage. And because you have Ghost in the Machine, cameras also do not detect you anymore. Ooh,
Oh,
you're hungry. You do disappear. You go invisible, but as you move, you can hear just a little voice in your head as you move past all of the kind who are wondering. They're outside the building, they're not sure what's happened yet. but you move past them to get into the actual building. The murder was on the first floor classroom, so you don't have to go up any stairs. Windows have been blacked out and closed, but you hear them, and you hear the voices saying, "A little snack, please. There's so many of them. Oh, that one is particularly sad. It makes for delicious blood. Let's have a taste. Just a taste, I promise."
We just ate yesterday.
But that was yesterday. That one by the end, in the green sweater. He's so sad. It smells so good.
Ugh, be quiet. I have something I have to do.
You're no fun. And just recedes back. But you do find yourself in front of the room. Not inside yet. There are teachers outside of that room. They're all panicked, having a discussion amongst each other. So before you enter the room, you have a choice if you want to listen to them first. But the problem with entering the room is they've closed the door. So there's no way to enter it quietly, but you can see through the window overlooking the room. So you'll just have to look from a distance.
I'll
But you
do
can
that.
hear them
I'll
out.
listen in. Yeah.
You don't really need to roll. Normally, there's an awareness roll for this, but because you're invisible, you can kind of be as close as you want. You don't make a sound anyway. There's 3 teachers, a custodial staff, and a security guard. This is bad. This is bad. What happened to her? It's like, I don't know. I was just cleaning up the rooms, overturning the chairs, and then I found her like that. Yeah, there was a bite mark on her neck. It maybe a dog. It's like, okay. How did the dog get on campus? Did we find it? Was anything on security? The guard just looks confused. All the cameras were erased. That sounds like a murder that's been covered up. This is bad. This is very, very bad. Everyone just calm down, okay? We've called the police. They're on their way. We'll let them handle it. If this becomes a full-on murder investigation, they will close the school and we will be out of the job. Look, let's just calm down. Let the police do their jobs, and we'll just cooperate with them, and none of us will be in trouble. Easy for you to say. You're only here as a part-time job for your damn masters. The rest of us actually have a career here that we're going to lose. And screaming is not going to do anything about it now, is it? Look, we don't know what happened here. Let's just wait for the cops, okay? What is taking them so long? They all just sort of collectively agree. Chicago PD.
Can I smell them through the door? The group?
Oh, you're not in the room. You're next to them, but you can smell them. Absolutely. They're all. Even the guy who's trying to tell them to calm down. There's a strong sense of worry in them. Their blood is pumping. They're all worried.
Is there any weird smells among them?
Not among these 5. Although, I will ask you to roll your wits and awareness now. And I don't think you've got... Daryl, you have a +2. Someone gave you a +2. Look at that.
Oh, thank you.
So add a custom
Would it be
modifier.
awareness then with?
Awareness and wits,
Oh,
and when
okay.
you confirm, there's a custom modifier. Just add 1 and then put the value to 2 and then roll.
Okay. add the custom modifier.
Let's see if that good luck matters.
Confirmed. And then 2.
And then just roll it.
And then roll.
And it matters a lot. 6 successes. Good for you. So, there's nothing odd about the people you're sensing here. Like, it's fairly mundane. However, inside the room, you don't smell, because it's a fresh victim. They should still have some resonance for you to pick up. And you do pick up on the resonance, ever so slightly. But there's barely any blood on the floor that's been spilled or in the corpse itself, which means it was drained of blood. That's, you can tell without even going in the room and really looking, because there's no way for you to enter the room at the moment. But the strong, or the lack of the sensation of blood is a telling factor to you.
I think I'll go back and tell everyone about what I've heard and warn them that the blood has been drained and there is a bucket.
Before she gets back, Vivian would have been doing crowd control to try and clear the area completely outside, and just, you know, try all the people that are worried, just a little compelled to go away. Nothing,
Just a
nothing
small-
bigger.
Just leave.
Yeah.
You can start moving people away. You do have control over this school. And if that's not enough, you can literally tell them to leave. But they'll leave, and as soon as Nora comes back and gives you all the information. The unfortunate thing is you start to hear the sirens approaching. Paramedics, probably the police wouldn't, or the detectives called for homicide wouldn't have their sirens on since there's no traffic, but there are paramedics here. And not far behind would be the detectives approaching the school. They're still by the school gate if there's anything you'd like to do beforehand, but they are approaching.
Should probably move the car.
Yeah. Why don't you guys? Yeah.
I'll take Morgan. I'll get him in.
All right. Just tell Lucas to park over closer to the Haven. We'll be back there.
Yep. We'll leave.
And Vivian will go in to the building.
Okay. The teachers are all looking. And says, Mr. Devereaux, we've already called the police. They should be here any minute.
Excellent. I'll handle it from here. Who found it?
They look at each other.
Who
The janitor puts his hand up. I
you
did,
stay
ma'am.
here then. The cops will want to talk to you. The rest of you can take the evening. I'll handle this.
They look at each other and they were already worried, so it doesn't take a lot of persuading to tell them to get out of here. So they all just leave. And they were already scared. An excuse to leave is very much welcome. The janitor just stands there.
So,
I had only opened the door. I saw the body and its eyes were just staring. I didn't approach it or touch it or anything.
did you call the police? Or was it one
I
of the other teachers?
called- I called 911. And then I called the other teachers. Do I need to do anything?
Yes. Go wait out by the door for when the police arrive so that you can give them your statement.
Yeah. Yes, of course. He just starts walking.
What type of classes are normally held here?
These are morning classes, and this
Yeah, what-
particular building in the campus is pre-med
Pre-med.
and med. Yeah. So there would be like a medical lab somewhere nearby within the same building. But it's med and pre-med.
Armed with that knowledge, while you guys are speaking to them, I'm probably going to try and get to the supply closet and pick up some disposable gloves.
Get some blood bags too.
Yeah.
Let's make this
There
a little
are
bit more
some-
convincing.
Let's test this out. Morgan,
Mm-hmm.
roll your intelligence and medicine. See if you can find blood bags that are not yet processed. Oh, and there is another +2 bot. That's my bad.
That's cool. We can just
Just roll science. Add it. Just roll science and nothing else, because that's 2 dice. And then we'll just add up
there you go. 5
2 more extra
successes.
dice. That's 5 successes. Thank you for that +2. So,
Yeah, thank you.
inside the medical lab, quickly moving, there are blood bags that were freshly donated. They are in containers, obviously, so they're kind of cold. But, I mean, you could crudely heat them up somewhere just to about regular temperature that they would be. Armed with some knowledge of medicine and surgery, you can figure out what kind of temperature they should be at. So you can, as odd as this is, microwave them just slightly enough to, just a bit of defrosting just to make them warmer,
Just
and
take
then
the
you
chill
come back
off.
with the blood bags. Yeah,
Cool.
and
It's like a hot pocket.
Morgan comes back with warm, freshly donated blood bags.
Nora, time to get that knife messy. Decorate this body.
Okay. Will do.
You want to make this look like
Slash.
Can I just get a look at this thing first? I want to see if there's any obvious signs of what happened that led directly to this thing's death.
I'll need another intelligence and medicine from you.
Cool.
Check that body. You might want to willpower that.
Oh boy.
Yeah,
Okay, how do I willpower?
Spend a willpower,
So,
and then
right-click the result,
Mhm.
and then willpower reroll. And then you'll select 3 dice that are blank, or up to 3 dice that are blank that you can reroll. Ooh, 4. That's 6 total. Great, perfect. So you look at the body, and initial assessment, obviously, bitten in the neck,
Mhm.
drained of blood. Simple, open, close, but something that you see that most people might miss, and you probably know this just because of how many dog bites you've had to examine over the years as a vet, or people coming in with bites from dogs in various sizes. Like, you can tell the difference between something bit by a German Shepherd versus something like a Chihuahua, for example.
Mhm.
And I mentioned that because that is the exact difference you are seeing right now. Like, you have seen your fangs. You have felt how deep they go into someone's neck. And you have felt how deep they can pierce and how sharp they are. While they don't cut, their piercing power can probably go through steel if you tried hard enough. what you're seeing here, the skin wasn't torn immediately like it did when you bit someone, even a kindred. It looks like it took effort for the bite to the point that the other non-fanged teeth have left some form of bite mark as well. Like there's a shallow bite from the part of the teeth that aren't fangs. And the fangs themselves, when you poke into the hole a little bit, right before Nora starts cutting up the body, they're not that deep. Like they are fangs and they did cut, but they didn't cut well because the skin is torn. It's the difference of like a blunt or like a small curved blunt point versus a finely tuned sharp point. There's a bit of tearing on the skin, ripping instead of just a clear puncture. But they don't go in that deep. It's odd. Like unless there's a vampire that's kind of very sad and needs this much effort to bite into someone,
Right.
you know, it's odd that it would be so shallow. The other thing is just based on how the muscles are, just looking through it, there was tension in this person as they died. Like they tensed up. And there's some bruising around their mouth, as if they were covered up to stop them from screaming. Like there's hard bruising around the cheek and mouth area. And some considerable force was applied. So, again, you've bitten someone, you've drank from them, you don't typically have to fight them. They don't fight back. They're lucid. So you're not sure what's going on, but that is what you see.
Rick, have you got your camera on you? And I'll point to the neck.
I don't exactly carry that with me to murder scenes, but I'm sure we could use a burner phone.
I'm just gonna take
Maybe it would have hundreds of burners.
take the undo. I'm assuming the holy water comes with a twist cap. I'm just gonna undo the cap of the holy water, pour a little bit out. I'm gonna dab some of the white powder I took off of the arms dealer in it, and then I'm just using my finger. I'm just gonna rub it into the inside of the victim's cheeks, just to try and muddy the scene up before stepping back and allowing Nora to not a lot of the white powder, mind you, just a dab, but enough that it would probably come up in a forensics test, and then I'll sort of step back before the blood starts spilling.
Okay. Nora, if you're gonna cover up this scene, I will need you to roll manipulate subterfuge and then select manipulation.
Okay. Alright.
Also, Nora is starting to spread. That's enough. You don't need a high roll for this, but Nora is starting to spread freshly donated blood. Luckily, none of you are too hungry because it's starting to smell really good. The thing is, Nora, you probably have a few more blood bags than you need for one person. You are hungry, and this isn't processed blood. It's fresh blood. Or freshly donated, which means you could stomach a bag if you wanted to. Settle the feeding problem that you have.
Right. Okay, so Nora's just gonna like try to make the bite mark unrecognizable, and then just like right on the
What
wound.
is the scene you are painting? What kind of murder are you trying to make this look like? Like a violent crime of passion stabbing?
I'm making this look like a crime of passion. Like Nora wants to make it look dramatic, like just like everywhere. There's blood all over, and stab wounds everywhere.
Great. And once you've created a work of art, it's almost disturbing how well Nora paints a violent stabbing. Of course, Vivian's gonna have to throw in some grease money for the forensic teams of the Chicago PD and the like, which we'll have you roll later once you start bribing people to cover this up. But for now, Nora paints an excellent murder scene. And even from untrained eyes or non-detective eyes, you can see that if you look at this scene, it looks like someone just violently attacked them with a knife, probably out of anger. Now, with that scene painted, the police are starting to approach as the janitors finish his statement. Which you guys can now take your exit. Nora, would you like to drink one of those bags?
I'll drink one. I've had a rough night.
It tastes like day-old steak that you reheated. Like it probably was premium steak, and then you sort of put it in the fridge, and then he reheated it. So not the best, but it does do its job. You can remove one hunger. But you guys can make your exit as the police come in.
Just before we walk out the door, I'm going to
Yeah.
quickly turn to Psalm 46, line 10. And I'm just going to tear out a section which says, "Be still and know that I am God." And I'm just going to sort of dip it in the blood just to further confuse the scene.
That's genius. Very, very clever. I like that.
So we
That
have
helps a
a
lot.
crime of passion, drugs, an obscure song from a Bible, and
That's
a
a
whole
triple
lot
threat.
of violent blood.
As a triple threat.
And the police are just gonna look at this and wonder what the hell happened to this girl.
Unsolved mysteries,
Okay.
here we come.
Guess there's another cold case. But you guys can leave. Vivian, I will need you to roll for the forensics team to start slipping in some money. So that's manipulation subterfuge, but you will get 4 extra dice for your resources because this is a bribe. Sorry, manipulation persuasion. And then your fast talk specialty can apply to this. So you'll take fast talk and then add 4 dice as a custom modifier. Has anyone bought you a plus? Not yet, okay. If you guys have pluses, the fledglings might need it if they come across something extremely dangerous. Vivian's gonna have to stay behind while the 3 of you leave.
Oh,
Oh, that is a lot. Money does a lot of things. Vivian,
Wow. Jeez.
Just before
technically, you rolled that right before the -2, so that doesn't apply. So the next roll gets a -2 because someone really doesn't like you guys. But Vivian smoothly not only bribes the forensics team, but the detectives as well. You know, the detectives are overworked. They're on the night shift. They're in homicide, which is overworked at this time. They want a closed case. You want a closed case. No one wants the college to close down and young youths to not have their education. So there's an agreement wordlessly amongst all of you that, yeah, we know what to do with this. We just need someone to pin it on, which is your missing ingredient. But that's all been paid. You need someone to pin it on, which you can find later on. But Vivian, you do have to find someone to blame the crime to. But they're all in agreement here. Like, yeah, we don't want another cold case in our hands. We do this. The college continues. The mayor declares his heroes. Everything's good. You leave. The 4 of you will gather again. So the one thing you're missing here, before you actually start looking into who did this, you need to find a scapegoat to blame the crime on, someone with some kind of motive.
I've got a suggestion. Albeit not massively vampire focused, but if we're responsible for this campus and we know that there are drug dealers here, namely Josh, we could get rid of the drug dealers and try to take that over. It's not massively political though.
I think that would work very well. I could even convince him to confess. Sort of. Or at least break down when he's being questioned. I can give him the
also have
memory
an
that he
idea.
did this.
What if we went with the drug dealer idea? However, instead of getting them to confess, we make it a murder-suicide.
That sounds
We can-
tasty.
We can feed on him at the
Drake?
same time.
Drake's just sitting there in silence. He doesn't appreciate how this is being treated like a writer's room on a screenplay, and we're just hashing out like, how do we make the final scene look? You know, he's just not in this right now.
We'll have
I-
him. We'll have him clutch the Bible that you cut the psalm out of, in his hand.
No.
And I'll cut out a few more psalms as well.
So,
Yeah, give them more to chase.
now here's a thing that we should all keep in mind. We are monsters, but we must exist in society and we must cling to as much of our humanity as we can. And wanton killing like that, well, that can lead to problems. We don't want problems. Just letting him believe that he did it, and letting the cops believe that he did it, and putting a drug dealer in prison, that seems completely justifiable. Killing somebody in cold blood just as a scapegoat, I worry that that might put a strain on our connection to the mortal world.
You're not sure what he means, Nora. But sorry, you're not sure what she means, Nora, but she hasn't steered you wrong yet. So, might as well.
All right.
Perhaps the last
So
few
your
days.
plan is a little less interesting, but sure. Go with it.
However,
If-
as you guys discuss, I will take the -2 that was so generously provided by Nolan and apply it into a narrative. Negative for all of you. So while you're discussing this, you can hear a commotion outside the building of a young girl calling to the cops. A young girl Drake recognizes as Chelsea.
Oh God.
And you can hear her screaming to the cops, "It was Philip! It was Philip, the crazy stalker ex! I knew it!" And she's just start crying hysterically, pointing the finger. "He's been stalking her for months! She's put a restraining order on him! I swear it was him!" And the cops are trying to hold her back as she cries hysterically. And the rest of you can see that the cops are looking at each other, particularly Vivian, you can see. The cops are looking at each other like, oh, you might have her scapegoat. It's him. He's been stalking her for months and now he's killed her. And she starts crying.
That solves itself.
And Drake, you remember something about this, Philip. Like, you remember them talking outside of your office. Every now and then you have to tell them to keep it down. But you remember them talking something disturbingly about him. And she just starts crying now that her friend is dead. And she mourns. The police look around. They need a scapegoat. They might just have one. They'll see Nora in the distance, or one of them. Like, sorry, not Nora, Vivian in the distance. They'll just give you that look like, might as well. You told them that you could arrange it as soon as a scapegoat is found, and it looks like they found one. So, they start to call it in. They get the radio, and they're calling it in. It looks like the detectives are being led by Chelsea to the dorm rooms. They're gonna head there. Do you guys want to follow them?
100%.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'll follow.
Absolutely, just in
No.
case Philip is not a good
Vivian
scapegoat.
Drake, do you know
Vivian
Philip?
can easily follow,
I've heard
only by
talk-
name.
Only boy talk. Nothing personal.
If he's a viable
So-
scapegoat, or perhaps even the guilty party, that would be awesome. But if he's anything special, we'll need to deal with it and find him an alibi.
Well, let's go find
So-
out then.
You guys leave. You go. He's not answering. Someone does open the door. They ask him if he is Philip, which he says, no, he didn't come home this evening. What's going on? Do you know where he is? No. I don't really know where he hangs out. The police just nod, but it looks like he's not in the dorms. They look at Vivian and take this opportunity to talk to the head of the school. Just, we will be putting out an APB. We're going to find him. We're going to detain him, but given that he is one of your students, once we detain him, you will be given an opportunity to speak with him. Protocol. They just sort of wave it off. It's not, but you know, we have an arrangement. And they will leave. You can hear again Chelsea outside. He said, Chunky! He's probably somewhere getting high again. I'm telling you, it's him. And she just starts crying. Alright, we'll check the dens. You should probably head back to your dorm, man. And she just starts crying while she runs over to her friend's corpse. And while you guys are stuck with this dilemma, and you still need to figure out who actually did it after framing a scapegoat, this is a perfect opportunity to take our break. Everyone else, please stay tuned. We will return in a few minutes to see what happens to these vampires. If any of you want to buy them bonuses or penalties while we're at break, they will all be accounted for should you want to. But don't go anywhere, we'll be back in a few. Good. So we're back with everything that's happened. Catch you up. A murder has happened in the school. You've covered it up. You are missing a scapegoat that needs to be blamed for this murder. While you were discussing, the friend of the victim, Chelsea, was screaming bloody murder at the police, pointing the finger at a student named Philip, who was Patricia's ex. He wasn't at his dorm, and so the police are looking for him. Chelsea suggests that he's probably in some drug den, being the junkie that he is. Now, you guys don't have to follow the police. They're going to go around all over the city with beat cops going everywhere looking for the victim. But you do need to find Philip first. The cops have left. How do you begin your search?
Morgan's got a contact, a veterinarian contact, which may have helped him procure some drugs. He could speak to. We could try and find Josh, given that we've got information on the Philip maybe using some drugs.
Please use your manipulation and streetwise.
Sure.
So click streetwise first. Black market, the specialty will apply. No negatives for now because we're using that as a plot twist.
How do I apply my black market?
When you click confirm, you'll be able to see it there. Blood market. So just click that. Or black market. Just click that, the active tick box, and then roll.
Cool.
Ooh. You want to spend the willpower on that?
Yeah.
Same thing. Right click it. Willpower reroll. 1. Okay. That's fine.
What are the assist-like actions for V5? Because I do have decent streetwise. Well, not great streetwise, but I have streetwise and I reasonable manipulation.
You can normally assist, but the problem with this particular role is that it's his contact. So he needs to handle it alone. But because it is a contact, it's an advantage. I will take 1 success. But when you contact your veterinarian, you give him the name. It says he gives you a meeting place. Obviously not going to talk anything on the phone. It'll be nearby the college, actually. So you can head over there relatively quickly. A few minutes. He'll meet you there. Same guy who sold you the drugs before. Buy some shit. Now you're looking for someone? Sure about this?
Yeah. He owes one of us some money. The stuff I bought from you, we lent it to him. And he doesn't seem very keen on giving it back to us. So we just need to have a conversation with him.
Yeah. So here's the deal. He hasn't come by in a while. Not me, not my friends, not no one. Word is, he's an NA now. Shit's happened. There's a local building 2 blocks that way. Should be a meeting, or should have had a meeting happen earlier. See if you can ask around there, though it's a bit late. Heard that's where he goes. I don't know if he's taking it seriously or not, but he hasn't been seen around the local haunts anymore. and he has been seen going in and out of that building regularly.
I'll
Yeah,
open
well, good luck with that.
I'll open up my Bible. Disarm. And I'm going to put the rest of the bag of powder in the section that I tore it out. And I'm just going to show it to him. And I'm going to close it. I'm just going to say, thank you. A favor repaid.
He nods, and he'll take it. He looks at it like it's premium, so he'll take it.
Nice.
The NA building he was pointing at, whether good or bad for your coterie, is well within your domain's range. You can head there on foot, you can drive as your choice. Obviously, the NA meeting would be closed by now. You want to go there? Or is there a stop you'd like to make?
I'm ready to go. I'm ready to go over directly.
Yeah, I got you guys the location. I think probably I'm not the best one to be doing the talking here, though. Maybe I'll take a back seat.
This is still far too disturbing for Drake, given your clan, your affinity for humanity, and the fact that you seem to be the only one in this group who still holds some semblance of his old life together. It's a little disturbing. A student was just murdered after all, someone that you didn't know personally, but you did know. But you don't really have a choice at this point, do you? They've made it perfectly clear that in this world, you follow or you die. So,
Yeah, but I could still try and make some advantages of my own out of it.
you can.
Drake will speak up. Actually, I suppose also storyteller. What are Chelsea's whereabouts at this point? Would we presume back?
She's
to
still in
dorm?
the school.
Yeah. Okay. I think a conversation with Chelsea might be worthwhile, both for me to check on her, but also considering the spouting of Philip's name, he might have an eye on her now. If they're really a
Sure.
problem that we
So-
would handle.
The drug deal was nearby, so they can come back for you. She's walking back to the dorm. The police have taken a statement and they don't see the benefit of bringing her to the station at the moment, especially since there's a manhunt. Oh, Professor. Hi.
Hey,
Excuse me.
no, don't. I came down as soon as I heard the news. I saw who it was. I wanted to see how you were doing. It's okay. It's all right. And
I thought
Drake-
you were sick. I didn't think you would be in the campus.
no, it's nearby. They can't get rid of me that easily, but I'm taking my time. But that's right now. It's not about me.
So,
How are you? I'm horrible, I assume, but do you have a
someone
safe
killed
place to be?
Patricia.
I know.
Just the dorms.
Look,
I don't. She doesn't even have night classes anymore. I don't know what she was doing in the building.
it's okay. I'm not here to question you. I just care about my students, and I think you getting out of here for the night might be a good idea. So Drake will fish into his pocket, and he'll give out his apartment key, not for his haven, but for his old studio apartment that he lived in before everything happened. You'd be doing me a favor, honestly. I've been having relatives check in on my cat, and he doesn't like any of them, so maybe he'd like you more, and I've been real busy, and I haven't really gotten to be back. Why don't you Get off of campus. Clear your mind.
Persuasion and manipulation, please.
And there is a +2 from Nolan.
And the plus 2 has been bought. Yeah, he's trying to make it up to you guys. Add 2, there's a custom modifier when you click confirm.
2. There we go.
And then just roll it.
Well, that added 1 too many in the first place. I think I clicked it twice on accident, but all...
No. It's fine. We can take the 2 successes. You're good.
Cool.
She looks. Thank you.
Yeah,
Professor.
don't worry about it.
Professor, if they find Philip, he's been stalking her for months. It's been having flowers delivered to her and poetry. He's a junkie, and he says he's getting better, but doesn't change. Junkies don't change. Like he's been very abusive to her, and I've been worried for the longest time that he was going to do something. And she starts stumbling on her words. You can see guilt written all over her face.
This wasn't your fault. Just because he unfortunately proved your worries right. This wasn't on you. This wasn't on Patricia either. This is his fault. And I'm sure you've given your piece to the police, and I'm sure they've done a fine investigation. I heard the head came down to do some talking, and I overheard some of the scene, but the best thing for you to do right now is go home, or go wherever you'd like to go and rest. The police may end up calling you again because you were close to her.
Yes.
So, clear your head.
Thanks.
Get some rest, of course.
Thank you. She just takes the key, and instead of heading towards the dorms, she begins to head outside to hail a cab. You can watch her from a distance. You see her, she does hail the cab, and you've given her the address. She's gonna take that. The apartment hasn't been used in a while since you've been turned, so quite empty. Meanwhile, you get picked up by the others and head over to the NA meeting. This is where I ask all of you to roll wits and awareness and check if you can spot a little something.
Okay, wits and awareness.
It's the 4 of you
And
because
while we have a
has to
quiet
be-
moment, thank you and welcome, Raiders. If you need to de-stream and stuff,
yes.
do so. But welcome, enjoy the story. Thank you for the raid.
Thank you for coming. Enjoy the pain. Enjoy the torment these 4 are about to endure. Especially since Drake's got a nice little failure over here.
Don't embarrass me in front of the Raiders. No.
So, before the Raiders leave, let's see what happens to Drake, shall we?
No.
Morgan, Nora, and Vivian, you are all able to spot off in the corner, just in the alley between the building that you were pointed at, this NA building by night, and what looks like an apartment complex. Off in the alley, there is just a body face down, not moving. Nora cannot smell any blood coming from it, similar to the previous body. Now, when you guys move there, you see that body, and it's face down, so you kind of have to turn it over. Now, Morgan did get you surgical gloves, so you can sort of just move it, not really leave any kind of DNA. Not that dead bodies leave fingerprints anyway. You move it over, and you can go through his stuff, look through his jacket, go through the corpse, and you find the ID of Philip. Philip Weston. He's
Oh.
dead.
Unexpected.
The same kind of teeth mark for Morgan, the same kind of difficult mark to put in, the same shallow bite mark, the same force applied to the mouth, same MO. Probably killed by the same person or similar kindred. Now, Drake, you didn't see this. You see it now. You see the body. You see what's happened. And something in you just boils up. All throughout this evening, all you have seen is death and blood and talks of a writer's room, of a murder mystery being set up, and all these gruesome, horrible things, one after the other, happening endlessly. And you have had enough of all of this negativity and this ugliness in the world. These horrific things you've been seeing. So, first I must ask you, what does Drake define as beauty, as art? What is the thing that you consider as art?
The thing that's grown the most, especially in the most recent days, because before, he never really had a true answer. He was a teacher. He abided by, it's in the eye of the beholder, it's perspective, it's whatever you can capture in the moment, but he sees the young lives of the people in front of him, and he sees the young life he had, and although it's fading, the thoughts that of the lives that Nora and Morgan had before all this, and even Viv at this point as they spent some time together, the beauty in the potential that everyone has, that his students have every time he sees them come into a class, what could they do, what have they done, what is their future going to look like, the beauty of life and everything within it is what all of us have the capability to do. And it's a shame to see these lives snuffed out before we could see even a glimmer of it.
So, with that being said, your clan compulsion now triggers. Obsession. You are looking for the potential of life, of what it could be, what you could have, the potential of these students that have been killed, whether they've made mistakes in the past or not. Their potential has been snuffed out. And in search of that potential, you find your beauty. Your clan compulsion is the obsession with this beauty. Until you are able to satisfy that compulsion, you have a -2 to everything you are going to roll from this point on that doesn't involve finding and satisfying that obsession, that potential with life. And that compulsion takes effect however you narratively want it to be. Why do you get a -2? Why are you distracted? How is Drake acting with this compulsion now? How has it changed your behavior? All of that is for you to answer as to why it's happening. But regardless of what happens, it's not going away until you satisfy it. But you yourself don't know what satisfies it. You just know that it's distracting you. You just know that you've had enough of this, of the beauty of youth being snuffed out too early. So when the other three find out their information, what does Drake look like to them right now? It doesn't necessarily mean you go out screaming bloody murder.
No.
But how do you look? How does it
There's-
affect you?
What the closest thing that we could find on a kindred's face of a profound solemnness, because even Philip wasn't one of his kids, which are by and far the people he cared about the most in this world outside of his family. is his students that he's been working with, some of which for years, some of which he just picked up in the semester. And he's been dulled much more than he has been through the evening. Sure, he's been hesitant to go along with some of the things we've been planning, but I mean, he handed Morgan the hacksaw on the boat. He shot the harpoon in the park. You know, he's been doing his new duty without question, without fail, and with moderate agreeance on everything that everyone could read off of him. But now he looks much more dead than he has been. The attempt to show the humanity he's holding on to is kind of dropped, and his appearance is much more corpse-like in his mannerisms and his movements. He's slower, he's duller, he's not engaged as if anyone were to come and talk to him as much as he has been in the past, and it's more than obvious.
It's almost as if he's on autopilot now. But at the moment, for the others, there's really no time to worry because you have another body. This was your scapegoat. Now it's just another victim. Unless you want to try making it into something. Not that you have any blood bags left over. What would you like to do?
As much fun as it would be to turn this into something, I think that maybe we should go and find Chelsea, because she's the only other person this close to all of this, and that, for Drake's sake, it seems concerning.
Yeah, and tell me if you disagree, but I have this, and I'll take out the ID of the weapons dealer, and I'll just start scoring across the face and rubbing it into some stones. I'll take Philip's ID out, so hopefully you can't see the weapons dealer. You can't make out the identification,
In the face, yeah.
Right? And I'll just swap the two IDs over.
This body has been drained. Even if it's not a kindred, it is considered part of a masquerade breach. We were able to hide that with Patricia. I don't think we can hide that here. I like where your mind's at, but unfortunately the circumstances dictate that Philip needs to be a missing person, at least for now.
Why not just put him in the trunk?
Yep.
The driver is just looking at the trunk he just cleaned and the car he just detailed.
Don't worry, Lucas, there's no blood here. Somebody else got to him first.
Unfortunately, ma'am, the smell may become an issue for a few weeks. I'll do my best to clean it out.
We'll get rid of this. We'll remove the problem before the smell gets to be a problem, I hope.
Might I make a suggestion, though?
Of course.
Perhaps the bottom of Lake Michigan. The bodies would have been partially eaten by wildlife and fish. It would be bloated. The blood missing would not be questioned. We could leave a note on him. Perhaps on a yacht.
I like where your mind's at, Lucas.
Yes.
It would be the suicide you are looking for. A suggestion.
I'll swap the IDs back over.
Yeah, take care of that during the day tomorrow, Lucas, please.
Of course. Shall I? He looks at Vivian. Use one of yours.
You can use my
The-
money to rent a yacht in his name. He's got his ID on him.
Very good, then. I shall. He starts moving the body. Take care of it. For now, is there anywhere you'd like to be for the evening? The sun does approach.
For tonight,
You
I
potentially have 3 or so hours remaining.
think we need to find out who's behind this. You wanted to talk to Chelsea more. Do you think that's a good idea, Drake?
Does sound like our next best step. I wouldn't mind seeing her again, but I don't particularly like the idea of all of us in my old apartment 3 hours before dawn. Maybe tomorrow.
For tonight, then, we'll stay at the group haven on campus.
Would you like me to get some people to look after in the morning? Make sure is all right.
If Viv has no objections to the use of their resources, then yes.
Of course.
I shall get some trusted contacts. He looks. Shall I drive you back to the college? Individual rooms, I believe, have been prepared for you there.
Yes, thank you.
Very good, then, ma'am. He starts driving, and the three of you notice something different about him. And just the three of you, because Vivian already knows this. Roll with insight and then wits. Oh, sorry. Drake has a -2, or you can just skip the roll entirely if you believe the compulsion makes you uninvolved. Still 1. Okay.
Just enough.
Nora's probably too self-involved in the romanticizing of the situation, and Drake is a little too distracted. This 1 is not enough. But Morgan, you do notice something off about the driver. I mean, he was loyal. But now it seems he's extremely eager to please. Like he's doing everything he can to make sure that Vivian is happy. And much more so than he ever did. Like he's more involved, he's more engaged, like this is more than just a job now. You just notice that detail about him in the way he moves and talks. You don't have to bring it up, but he will drive you just a couple of blocks back to the school. There's a faculty building where you've all been given private rooms. They have to be located in the basement, inside hidden walls, but the rooms themselves are quite luxurious and well built. Perfect for a haven. You'll stay there, and you can sleep for the evening, or whatever counts for sleep. However, there are still a couple of hours in the night. If there's anything any of you would like to accomplish before the sun rises.
Vivian, let's see. A herd of 1 is up to 3 people. I've used it once this week. I will call somebody from my herd and take my hunger back down to 1 before sleep.
Okay. That's 2 for the week. It resets on Monday. Oh no, Wednesday. Okay. You can take 1 again from the herd. host a bit of a dinner in the school. The prestigious honor of having dinner with you, a sought-after event. And make them forget the last few minutes, make sure that all they remember is a pleasant meal. And a good conversation. The rest of you? You prefer to just drop for the evening?
How
Yeah, I
far
think
would
Nora's gonna drop.
Okay. Drake, what was that?
how far would my old apartment have been from campus?
So the old apartment is way beyond your haven now, or anywhere you should go. So you're looking at about 10 miles. Not too far.
Yeah, but too much for right now. He's Drake's really thinking of going to check on her and make sure she's all right and handle this dying obsession he has right now at the moment to see his students once again.
You can sleep, call it a night. Your bodies go lifeless, limp, numb. And the next evening, you will awaken once more to a rouse check, to force your bodies to awaken, to pretend to be alive once more. Prove you're good. Vivian, once again, awakening hungry. That hunger is starting to get a little bit annoying. Perhaps it's the stress of all these evenings, of these problems that keep coming one after the other. Having to make sure that these fledglings don't ruin your reputation. Having to make sure that one enemy of yours who got you stuck in the situation in the first place doesn't ruin you any further by using this unfortunate event. The hunger strikes you, but you must control yourself. It is unbefitting of your clan to show such weakness. Still, you will all awaken for once next to each other, given that your rooms have been placed side by side. As you awaken, a new evening dawns, and Lucas already has a report prepared for all of you, particularly for Vivian. I've checked into her, man. She's been fine all morning. No signs of people looking for her. She did stay in that apartment, but she should be in her dormitory now. It looks like she's frazzled. I don't think she enjoyed the idea of staying in an apartment alone, so she's within campus. The body's been taken care of, note and everything. He looks... I left it as a suicide. Pinned him for the crime on Miss Patricia. Calling it guilt. If that's fine. The police will be finding it any moment now. I've already spoken to them.
Excellent work,
That
Lucas.
matter should be resolved.
Excellent work, Lucas.
Just nods. Where will you all be heading this afternoon? This evening.
Let's go back to the
Morgan's-
security room.
Yeah, as Drake mentions that, Morgan's just getting his wits back about him as he opens his eyes to the darkness, instinctually reaching for his wallet, searching for a bag of powder that he's forgotten he gave to somebody. As he tosses through the cards, you can all make out a worn picture of somebody a few years his senior that bears his resemblance.
Security room?
The security room sounds good.
All right. The security guard, the night guard, that Vivian knows so well, is already there. You can make him leave again, as always.
Take 5.
I'll consider this compel. You don't have to roll for it, but you can make him take a break. Now, the security room, you were told that the footage was erased from the actual murder. So what do you want to do in here?
We can check around again, look for paths, look for when were they there, when were they not, where did they come from.
We also need to make sure that Nora's handiwork is not recorded at all. I don't know if there was a camera in the room or not, but just in case.
There could have been, but it usually faces just the students, and truthfully, half of them don't work that well. But I'll take care of it either way.
So the first thing, looking for the footage of Nora, since you know the time and date, it's easy. It's not there. The cameras were still glitched. In fact, it looks like they were only able to fix it in the morning. So all of the footage only starts in the morning itself. There's no footage of anything happening there throughout the morning up to this evening. So what else would you like to do on this computer?
How far back does it go?
It goes as far back, but
Yesterday
the only
morning.
thing missing is that, yes, there is some yesterday morning footage left.
Let's start
The only
with
thing missing was the evening. About 6 hours is gone.
Let's start with the dorms. Let's see if we can follow Philip throughout his day.
Yeah. This will require you to roll. I'll allow you to use technology in place of investigation, so technology and intelligence.
Gotcha.
Has anyone bought you any negatives? No.
Is it still -2 from the clan obsession?
Yes, you haven't satiated that.
Gotcha.
We've already applied the +2 from low, I believe.
Would you consider it as an attempt to connect with that in trying to solve this?
Drake sees this as a attempt to protect the potential that he sees in his students, but it's not the potential itself.
So so you have to be able to see that potential. You have
Yeah.
to see where it leads to.
So I'll be rolling 5 dice.
Just put the custom modifier. I think you can put a negative. So just -2.
Fancy. Negative values in my games. Big. Intelligence modifier minus. Oh, look at that. There we go. How pretty. How fitting. Hey, we're gonna re-roll that.
You have right click, willpower reroll. There you go.
There it is.
That's 3 successes. That's good. Okay. It'll take you roughly 30 minutes. There's a lot of footage to go through. You guys will probably be out of here around 7 p.m. or 6:30. Night starts early. You can follow Philip throughout the day. He goes to class. For a bit, he leaves the campus, particularly in the afternoon. According to the schedule that you have that you can pull up from this security record, he doesn't have any classes during that time. But he does leave in the direction of the NA building you were pointed at. You obviously can't tell where he went outside of campus, but that is the gate nearest to that building. So it semi-corroborates. He comes back slightly in the evening. Throughout the entire exchange, you can tell that he is watching Patricia from a distance. Like, he is looking. But he doesn't seem to be doing anything hostily. He's just sitting there watching, maybe hiding behind a newspaper or a book. He's not actively following her. It's just that when she's in view, he just looks at her. But doesn't have any indication that he's following her, necessarily. Especially when you look at the cameras, at least for this day. But he does look distraught. Every time he sees her, he looks concerned. The problem is, you do see something else. But, and all four of you can see this because Drake is pulling up his footage. I will need the four of you to roll wits and insight to make sense of what you're seeing, because there is something odd here. Okay. Drake is far too distracted. Morgan's not sure what he's seeing, but Nora and Vivian, being people who are somewhat experts at human behavior and talking to people respectively. You do see Chelsea in the footage wherever you see Philip. And it, to the two of you, looks like she's stalking him rather
I knew it.
aggressively. It's a look like a distrusting look on her face on him. And she's following him. Now, obviously, this is a little odd. However, you do notice that when Philip's gone, footage is about to be erased. Just as Drake is about to close the footage, we're done here. In the corner of the camera, you see Chelsea right around 6 p.m. entering the pre-med building. And that's right around the time. Oh, sorry. That still has some video to it. And you can follow her entering the building, the pre-med building, and then a few minutes after, that's when the camera footage cuts. And you are in the security room of the pre-med, because this is where you're looking for the murder. But it does cut there, or this is right around the time that it cuts. So she did cut off the cameras from the pre-med building and what happened there, but not the outside security, not the main campus security cameras, which has its own control room, which is locked away from most student access. So, given that, you can still see the outside door. And a few hours later, for anyone reports, you do see a figure. She's a little far from the view of the outside campus camera, but there is a figure leaving that building. And right around 6 p.m., there are no more students or classes in that building on that day. But there's a figure leaving, covered in shadow, walking away, wiping their mouth. You can't tell it's her, but she's the only one that entered at that time. Only Nora and Vivian see that detail, because the other two are too distracted, or Morgan's just too unaware of what's going on.
Nora's gonna like put a hand to her chest and look over to Drake, like, "Oh, Drake, I think I have bad news for you."
Oh, what could it be now?
Chelsea is definitely the one who did it. If this is anything like any book I've ever read, I saw this coming from a mile away.
I don't think I'm going to listen to the thought process of someone who openly planned a murder-suicide scene yesterday.
Okay,
But
if that's how you feel.
if that's a chain of thought you want to follow, we can do that.
You're muted.
We're missing you, BB.
Drake,
Yeah, we can't hear you.
Drake, I need you to rewind that, the outside view from the camera,
Gotcha.
and watch it carefully. You can draw your own conclusions. Nora certainly has. I saw it as well. I'm withholding, but it does not look good.
When you rewind it, rewatch it, and as they pointed out, it doesn't look good. She is stepping into the building when it's already closed. The camera's cut off about 10 minutes after she steps in. With the cameras of that building, which is right around the amount of time you'd need to get into the security room if you were really good at it. And there's a figure leaving that building, and that is the only figure leaving that building throughout that time span. You do see Patricia walking into the building during that time span that she's in it. And obviously things happen after that. You can also erase the footage of you guys entering the building in the first place. Before the police.
Now,
But
Yeah, cleanup's easy enough. It's just,
the question
realization.
here,
Viv, what are realistically the odds that there is another kindred that we're not aware of actively being a part of the college?
given Malachi's plan that we uncovered, very good and very high. They turned the three of you specifically to be agents against the Camarilla. I see no reason that they would stop with just the three of you.
There's one caveat though. There is footage of her in the morning stalking Philip. That's of course, and Vivian knows, one kind of vampire.
No, I don't think Vivian would think she's a vampire. Vivian wants to know why she's trying to frame vampires. I think is kind of
Fair enough.
Vivian's take on it, because no occult, only one status. I probably would not know about Thin Bloods.
Fair enough.
Morgan's going to put down the visitor book he's been flicking through and turn back to Drake and the others. Am I missing something here? What? The crying girl from yesterday. We're now suspecting her. And Drake, didn't you invite her into your home? Did she have
Yes.
information on you? No.
No, nothing worthwhile. The Camarilla took a lot of what I had that probably would have been incriminating or really anything of mine and brought it to my New Haven. At most, she pet my cat, had a bowl of ramen or cereal that was left over.
When you mention your cat, you just see Morgan's tongue just go over his top lip. Okay.
You're not being invited to my home.
We should check on the cat, though. I mean, if she's capable of this.
I wonder why she did it. Maybe she was jealous?
Lots of assumptions.
Maybe she's just a fledgling like us, and this was easiest for her.
She was out during the day. It either wasn't her, and it's just a really big coincidence, which I don't personally believe in, that she happened to be there at the right time, for the right amount of time. I think the bigger question is, why is she trying to make it look like it was us? Not you and me and the four of us, but the kindred in general.
Could she be like Lucas or this other group from Malachi?
It's possible.
I think
Maybe she was. Maybe
He's
she was
gone.
escorting someone that we. Maybe she was escorting someone that we couldn't see. I mean, I don't appear on cameras, do I?
I don't think that would keep you safe from the sun, would it, Viv?
No, but if she set up the security cameras and lured Patricia in there for someone else to feed from, I don't think it was a feeding gone wrong, though. Not with two bodies.
Could she be a siren and not a flesser? Could she have been feeding, preparing a meal for someone?
She was out during the day. I don't even. I mean, the older we get, the more susceptible to the sun we are, the more damage it causes. And even the four of us, as freshly turned as we are, would burn badly and perish in the sun. We would not be able to stay out the way she did. You can force yourself to be awake during the day. It's not easy, but you can do it. But the sunlight itself is still deadly.
The premier we met when we were finding out who we were, they said 13th generation for the three of us. Is there a 14th, a 15th? Could that explain the weak bite?
I suppose that's within reason.
Would it be feasible if she was working with a vampire who has never left the building?
Philip was found in a lot, in an alley, over by the NA building.
I suppose that's true.
Unless there's multiple at work here.
Be the janitor. Could be the security person.
I think we talked to Chelsea.
Before we
Handle
do
it. Handle
That
it as
brings
though
up,
we don't
by the
know.
way, a point. Morgan's point is that brings up the question of how did she erase the footage? There is a security guard there.
I think it's important at this point, Drake, if I could be so bold as to ask, do you know anyone else other than us who are sort of into murdering people? Because you're the only person who's got two groups of friends totally separate from each other who have iced people.
Plenty of my students have shown fascinations in their projects, but it's the level of fanaticism of that shop owner from the other day. It's theatrical. It's they think it's thought-provoking or just overall provocative when they turn in their projects. But I mean, you can see by how I am here. I don't want to believe the possibility of what is happening here. As interesting as the potential is, it's not something I really enjoy the thought of, that Chelsea or any of my students would be someone like this. I didn't want to be like this. The last thing I would want is for them to be like this.
And
If is it? Sorry, go on.
additionally, I don't think it's a vampire fan or anything like that, because they did take the time to exsanguinate the victims, not just drain some blood. And the blood wasn't found anywhere. For Patricia, we had to recreate the scene in order to make the excuse of being drained. They were either drained by a vampire with dull teeth, or that is set dressing for somebody who wants to blame kindreds. Somebody that knows.
Is it possible we've used your driver and sent a known dead body into the middle of a lake that the prince knows us to have been in, conducting business, and framed ourselves as killing somebody who we have no authority to kill? And secondly, is it possible to be clumsy here and leave something in the security room before we leave? Nora, maybe you disappear in here and watch the guard and see if there's any suspicions there.
Could be worth a shot.
The lake, by the way, legally to Vivian is free game. And if you're cleaning up your haven, the lake's not owned by anyone, so it's free territory to dump bodies in, both mortal and kindred alike.
I think regardless, someone should keep an eye on Chelsea. No matter what happens, something isn't right there.
I think a conversation is worthwhile. I'm sure if following the thought line that they're a fledgling and they're feeding or they're being instructed to feed, unless they absolutely know who I am now as a kindred already, surely they'd jump at the opportunity to have a third victim alone in their apartment, completely trusting and unknowing of what they are.
So, before we continue, there's another negative that's been bought for all of you. And while this isn't a negative plot twist, I will take it as a narrative. Just for the record, a negative plot twist or positive one is going to be a lot heavier than what I'm throwing out right now. This is just going to be something a little easy for you to handle. But to honor that negative, there's a knock on your door. And then it gets open. That security guard shouldn't be back yet. You didn't tell him to leave.
Dora's gonna vanish.
Browse check, please. Right while no one else is looking at you anymore. Oof. Hungry. Not the time right now. And there's nothing to feed on. But the hunger does tick in your head. The door opens and you see Chelsea. Professor?
Chelsea.
The guard should have stopped her. That was the instruction. Normally, that's the instruction Vivian leaves.
Very suspicious.
Sorry. I'll come back.
No, by all means. Surely you've brushed shoulders with her before introducing. Viv is like head of the school, one on the school board, right? Is that the proper introduction?
So something along
Yes.
those lines.
Yeah. One of our fundraising chairs. They wanted me to help out since I'm familiar with some of the students. Your opinion would be great here, actually, if it's all right.
All right. In the security room?
We can step out into the hall.
Yes, I was reviewing some footage to see if it would work in a promotional video.
All right. She leans back and then lets you guys leave. The security guard is nowhere to be found.
Can I,
Also,
since I'm invisible,
BB,
can I
you're
get
frozen.
like a
Invisible.
Can I get like a close sniff at this one?
Oh,
Because I suspect something's up.
you can sniff all you want. You're not sniffing anything.
Oh,
No resonance, which means not human. Because blood resonance only
oh,
applies to those who are human. If
that's
there's no
weird.
resonance from them, they're kindred. But it
Knew
is
it.
very weird because she was walking in the sun. Clear as day, unless she only got turned now, which would be much odder than this seems to be right now.
Yeah. I'm gonna
She is human.
I'm, I'm gonna lean over and try to just say she has no smell. She's a vamp.
Vivian or anyone else, you would be aware by now that Nora is capable of sensing humans through the smell of their blood. So when that whisper comes in, she does make a amount of sense. But she steps out. You all step out. Sorry, um I I was
Um,
just going to ask security for footage. I lost my bag.
yeah,
I
of
was
course.
hoping they might be able to see it,
Uh, uh,
but the guard isn't here.
yeah, Miss Viv gives them a break every once in a while when we come in. They'll be back. In the meantime, uh, oh, of course, this is Mr. Morgan. I've been having him along to help me with some of my physical ails. Not doing too well, as I told you. We could share the
Yes,
details of that another time, but come, let's head to my office.
sure, Professor. She'll walk, Nora following silently behind. You step into the office. She sits there, little nervous. Um, what do you need from me, Professor?
Uh, and we'll let them head in first. As we go to close the door, I'll kind of hold my hand up to Morgan, just kind of asking for the two of us to have the room. Presumably Nora slipped in, but trying to just
Yeah,
give them
Nora's
that
in.
one-on-one vulnerability that we were talking about earlier.
Sure. Morgan will, um, in his right hand, he's got a brown leather briefcase. He'll say, "Ah, yes, the fundraising paperwork," and pass it over to you as he closes the door,
Thank you.
leaving you two alone.
It's just a bunch of flyers.
It's
Nora's
about as
left.
useful as that right now.
It's the hunter's kit. It's the hunter's kit in a briefcase.
Oh
It
yeah,
is the unloaded 50 cal, is what it is.
don't worry. Drake was mindful enough to load his before he put his 38 in his waistband today.
Okay. So,
But
you're inside. She looks nervous. She's tapping her foot. All odd ticks for you because you've been told and you've experienced that vampires don't have these sort of reflexive muscular ticks. They have to actively do it to seem human, but she seems to be doing it reflexively. She's waiting nervously, shaking breath.
I'll
Yeah.
sit, please, and I'll sit down.
Yes, of course.
Nora's gonna stand like directly behind her, like inches away.
Creepy as always, sure. She does not realize you're there, so she's just nervously tapping her foot.
Let's see. As I do this, I'm gonna. What is it? Blush of life? Is that it? To force the blood through your body.
Yes,
Warm up.
it's a rouse check. Seem human.
Yeah, let me do that.
It'll force blood through your veins. It'll force your muscles to react. It'll force your heart to beat ever so slightly. It'll force you to look alive but sickly. Professor, um, I'm sorry. What are we doing here?
Just wanted to it. It's been difficult for everyone the past few days, and it's just refreshing to see you. And any of this, I've bumped into a few others too, but it's just didn't want you to get caught up in all that nonsense. We're gonna pretend to be in here and talk about paperwork, and I'll tell the fundraising chair you're not interested, so you don't have to be bothered with it anymore. But also give that security guard time to come back to give you that footage.
She's shaking, her lips are quivering. Can you roll manipulation and persuasion, please? Or
Good thing.
I'll take charisma. You're trying to help her out.
Yeah. Since this is one of my students, albeit mixed into this chaos, is my compulsion satisfied?
The beauty of her potential is in question at the moment, so not yet.
Gotcha. Cool. That was what was that? Persuasion,
-2.
charisma.
Yes.
Gotcha.
So just roll charisma, actually. It's -2.
Yep.
Your persuasion won't. It's only
Works
2.
for me.
Wow. Charming as always. You disarm her. She takes a very deep breath, which is the other odd thing, she's still breathing. Professor, I need to tell you something.
Of course. I'll hold out my hands on the desk for her. Take a moment. Collect yourself. You've never looked this nervous before.
Something's happened to me.
I would presume so, with what just happened the other night. It's quite a thing.
Professor, no, it happened the other night. I didn't tell the police everything because I don't think they would believe me. But the night when Patricia was killed, she told me she received an odd text threatening her, threatening to release some photos of her if she didn't show up at the Met building. And she wasn't supposed to tell anyone, but she told me, and I got worried. So I went there. I don't remember anything.
Can I try
I woke
something?
up confused. Yeah, what do you want to do?
Without revealing myself or like to Drake or anything, I'm gonna whisper in her ear, just to like drive her a little nuts. Just gonna whisper into her ear. You ate her, didn't you?
She jumps out of the seat and falls off the chair. What was it?
Chelsea,
What happened? What?
hey, easy,
Did you
easy.
you didn't hear that?
No, there was. Hey, breathe.
Professor, something's wrong with me.
What happened? You said something happened
I
to
don't-
you.
I was in the building. I was in the room where she died. But I heard something. And it was... I followed it to the roof. And... I don't know what happened after. I woke up in a few hours on the roof and I was starving, so I left. There was a bag of blood in front of me. It was open and I think I drank it. I don't know why. And then I left through the fire escape. I went back home. I was so scared. I went to my dorm. I was scared that I saw the news about Patricia and I ran back. I don't. I was so scared that I forgot that someone was telling her to meet her there. I don't. I don't know, Professor. I've been craving for blood since that night.
All right.
Like an addict.
Sit up. Come on. And get her back up, back in the chair. So
Just as she sits down again,
Oh,
she's gonna whisper again. She's gonna say, "Blood bag wasn't enough, so you ate your ex. Isn't that right?"
friend, not ex, but she sits back in the chair and she falls over again.
Oh, okay. All right.
I can't be here. I can't
No,
be here.
you're okay. You're
I'm
okay.
scared. She runs for the door.
I'll grab her arm.
Please, I need to go. I need to go.
Chelsea,
I don't know what's going on.
It's
I need to
okay.
go. Please.
Listen,
I don't.
I understand how you're feeling.
Professor, you don't. I'm so hungry. I don't know what's happening. I'm scared.
Just breathe for a second, all right?
She breathes.
Or I suppose
Tries
pretend
to
breathe a little bit.
calm herself. No, I still breathe. I don't know what's going on. And she calms herself.
Very,
And
very easily now.
this is not the -2 right now. I'm sorry, this was the -2 from earlier.
Yeah.
Chelsea. But what's happening next is part of what was the problem you're gonna face while you're talking to her outside, Vivian. You will, or Lucas will approach you and tell you, ma'am, a student's been reported missing for about a week now. There's been missing persons reports filed and everything. He hasn't been seen for a week. Except, apparently, last night. He was seen roaming the campus. That's what the detectives have found so far. Right around the time of the murder. Or at least within that time frame.
That's interesting for us, but I don't want it to be interesting for the police. Did they find Philip yet?
They did, and they're willing to close the case.
Good.
Shall I tell them to leave it alone?
Yes.
Alright then. Excuse me. Steps out. Makes that call. And while there's a frantic Chelsea in Riley's office, and Vivian's been given some new information by Lucas, we're a little over now. So we will stop there for this evening. And we will pick up right at where we left off. Nothing going to be skipped next week. So for everyone watching, thank you again for watching. If you want to watch them again next week and see the kind of problems that are going to get thrown their way, please tune in on the same time, Sunday, PST, 5 p.m. Join our Discord, subscribe to our YouTube channel, and until then, we will see you next week. Bye, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Cybernation Uncensored